Put a call into commitment, but no one's picking up on. Then alone can you put everything that I need, yeah. You brought the light and you brought the truth. Now I feel redeemed. I just want more of you tomorrow than I had.
We're live on the air with All the Way Live with the Lovebirds. I am one half of your dynamic duo, Dr. James Bird, and alongside of me is my lovely wife,
Dr. Angel Bird.
and together we are the Lovebirds. And we are excited as always to be live with another All the Way Live with the Lovebirds show. And today we're going to be discussing some mistakes often made that lead to unhealthy marriages. So you definitely want to stay tuned in today. If you have friends, you want to give them a call or text them, hit them on Facebook, social media, do everything you need to do to let them know to listen in to All the Way Live with the Lovebirds. We are on the air, and they still have time to listen to a great show today. You ready? All right, let's do it. So we're going to be talking about 8 mistakes that you often make in your marriage that could lead to an unhealthy marriage. All right, and so don't take the order and for anything, but these are just, I just put numbers to them just to list them. So the first one we're going to talk about is the belief that denial is an effective relationship tool. Okay? This comes in close to number 1 on anybody's list. If we pretend for long enough that a problem or a conflict does not exist, we expect that problem will automatically go away with further attention. Now, nobody's going to actually ever say that. They're not going to say, if I just ignore it, the problem's going to go away. But people's reactions in marriage kind of tend to lead toward that, because you don't discuss it, you don't talk about it, you really just act like it doesn't exist. It's almost, I call it the ostrich syndrome. The ostrich sticks his head in the sand, leaves all his tail exposed, thinking that he's safe because he doesn't see the problem. But the problem still exists, and everybody else still sees your problem. So you can't just use denial as a tool to avoid problems. What say you?
It's just a new day in marriage. It's completely different than it was so many years ago. And what we're finding out through counseling is that people show up for all type of reasons in their own mind of why they're there. And I also used to say they don't have a marriage problem, they have a God problem. Now I have something to add with that. They have that too, but now they also have a family problem. And so what they do is, from the time they were born all the way up until they meet their mate, they bring all of every form of rejection, pain, history of their family, history of things that wasn't done right, dysfunction, everything into their relationship. And then they go into this relationship expecting to be successful, meaning hiding things that they've been through that their spouses maybe don't know. Some women have been sexually abused, raped and all kind of different things by family members or people that they knew. Husbands don't know, and then they're wondering why they're getting the reactions that they're getting in the relationship. I'm here to tell you, unless you deal with the issues and be honest about your past, you're going to struggle in a relationship. And you're going to struggle trying to have a successful, flourishing marriage, because you cannot have all those wounds. You can be a born-again, sold-out believer of God, and you can sit in your congregation week after week and get the word of God and be a mighty man and woman of God, and still have all these things going on, because if just only going to church was enough, then we all would be fixed. And so you have to be able to find someone, whether through counseling or someone that can have dialogue with you, where you can get this stuff uprooted out of your soul, because it's not going to go away. Like I always say, time heals nothing. You have to expose anything that's not like God in your life and be able to deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, talking with someone just locally, then you get someone that's a professional that has been trained to pull all of this out of you. We don't just do marriage counseling, we do the men and the women individually, so you can get the help that you need if you don't want to talk about it in front of your spouse. And so This is a really serious issue that we're dealing with in every session, so I know that it's real. So you really, really need to identify some of the issues that you're having and get the
Yeah, I
help that
think,
you need.
and I think this is a point that we don't want to, right now, I don't even want to keep this so broad and so general. Just for example, because a couple may be thinking, well, I mean, we're not hiding our day-to-day problems or things like that. But what we're talking about is, you know, things that maybe your mother left you when you're a child, or you don't know your father, or like my wife said, some sexual molestation or something like that. I mean, maybe maybe growing up, your parents never showed dealing with any problems, so you don't have any conflict resolution skills. Maybe in the home you grew up, everybody deal with everything through cussing and yelling and screaming, hitting walls, leaving, being gone for a few days, or they displayed silent treatments. They go weeks, without talking to one another, and you saw this growing up as a kid. I mean, all these things are compartmentalized as you're growing up, and you take them to the altar. And I'm talking about the altar of marriage.
Yeah.
You take them to the altar when you get married, and you think that they didn't affect you because you were in school or or in college or something like that. But when you get married, they're there waiting on you. And a lot of things that go on when you're a child, or that you see in early relationships, certain spirits are connected with that. And we talk about they lie dormant. Sometimes for years, patiently waiting for years, waiting to expose themselves at a time
destroy your life.
to destroy your life and to destroy your marriage and family. And so you have to really think about this. And the thing about this is that these things don't go away just between you and God. You just getting on your knees by yourself praying. God has developed us in such a way that we get a release when we talk to somebody.
Confess.
When we confess
When
it.
you talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's not my way. That's just the way it is. That's the way our Creator created us. And so you have to see somebody, and we make ourselves available, whether you live in our city or not. People are listening to us all over the world, and so we make ourselves available. But we can't stress this enough. You have to get help in this area. All right. Anything else on that one? Anything else?
No.
All right. Number 2, thinking of ourselves first and others as an afterthought. Now, this is definitely a mistake that can often lead to an unhealthy marriage. Thinking of ourselves first and others as an afterthought. I think about the story that we heard Sunday, that she was saying that the gentleman said, she asked, how do you make your marriage work? You've been married a long time. How do you make your marriage work? And he said, by preferring my wife and her preferring me. If you prefer your spouse, if you prefer the other, then you're going to have a happy marriage. Okay? But you can't prefer your spouse if you have issues that cause you to be concerned about yourself. You build up walls of protection that you don't want anybody to hurt you. Yeah. And you don't want to let anybody in. And those walls will keep you from being able to prefer your spouse in the way that you should in all areas, because you don't want to be vulnerable.
Yeah. It's no different than your job. The boss on your job calls you in the office for evaluation or to touch bases with you, and they say to you, let's just say, Susie, we're going to have to release you and let you go. She's going to say, why? He said, because since you've been here, you haven't been able to operate to your full potential. You won't give us your all. And we know there's more in there, but you won't give us all of what we need to make this business successful. It's no different in your marriage. You cannot be successful in a relationship when you're only giving someone partial of yourself, because you have these walls of protection, trying to protect yourself from getting hurt again or being rejected or whatever the cause may be. You have to release these things and give them to God and allow God to go into those secret places of your life so you can get back on track.
Yeah, 'cause a lot of times those walls are developed because early on you have certain expectations.
Absolutely.
And you go into your marriage thinking everything's going to be, wonderful. I love her. She loves me. And so, your expectations are high. And for some people, their expectations are unmet before the honeymoon is over, or immediately, thereafter. And in that case, that does cause us to, bring up walls of protection. And you gotta get help. You gotta get help from that. So, continuing with this, this is mostly, I would say this is mostly a male thing, but there are women who operate this way as well. It's not so much that men are selfish more than women. It's just more that men simply, they don't think in this way. Guys tend to go with the first impulse that comes into their heads, and so, women, they're more, they think about a lot of different things, think from a different side of their brain, and so they think about a lot of different things before they make a decision. And a lot of time, guys, they run on one track. The first thing that comes into their head, they move in that direction, and so that a lot of times is the reason for that. Typically, that's a self-serving impulse. But women, as I say, they usually, after thinking about themselves, will quickly think about others, like their spouse or their children. And we hear that a lot of times. Women say, well, I put myself on the back burner, I don't do anything for me. I don't do anything for myself. I just, I do everything for him, or I do everything for the children. And after so long, that builds up. And so you have to, in this marriage, you have to, if you're that spouse that has been doing, everything only for yourself, then you have to do things for your spouse. You have to prefer your spouse. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the tendency to believe that once we explain ourselves, our spouses will automatically change their point of view. Now, this is everybody. You're not out, if you're out there, if you can hear, you're not exempt from this. The tendency to believe that once you explain yourself, your spouse will automatically change their point of view. We honestly believe that our rationale is that compelling. Fact is, we might as well get a shovel, dig a deep hole in the ground, and jump right on in, because that's typically the effect of trying too hard to justify our personal insensitivity. I mean, it's everybody. I mean, I don't know where we want to go with that, but immediately, you think, okay, here we go. We'll go with infidelity. Infidelity happens, unfortunately, in a lot of marriages. And oftentimes, it's a man's point of view that, hey, it's out there now. We've talked about it. I admitted it. I've apologized. I've repented to God. God has forgiven me. Now it's over. You should forgive me. And then they'll even try to put a time limit. When they think they should be forgiven. Try to be understanding. But at that point, they don't want to say it. But in their mind starts to function in a way that, hey, you should be ready to move on, because they think that they've done everything that they need to do, and even if they do things to try to restore the trust, they think in their mind that they've done everything that needs to be done. All right, you need to just get over this, okay? And then women, they're no different. They make you explain your situation. I mean, we the lovebirds, we at a time or two here and there, we have our, I call them growth challenges. We have our things that we talk about that initially we may disagree on, or something, or I may not like the way that she said or did something. She's always in total agreement with everything that I do, because Dr. J, he don't mess it up at all, but
he just did right.